It is 5:30, so we will get started, and we will start with a roll call.
Mr. Munoz,
Present.
Dr. Bonebrake,
Here.
Mrs. Schmidt,
Present.
Dr. Schumacher, Mr. Tatum,
Here.
Dr. Beeson. Okay, she's present but online.
Yeah, I think she's already in executive.
The exec session already.
Yep.
Thank you.
So we will look to move to executive session, and we'll be doing two separate motions for that. And so we will start with the first one.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Education of USD 501 recess into executive session for 30 minutes to discuss confidential personnel matters to protect the privacy of the individuals being discussed pursuant to the personnel exception in the Kansas Open Meetings Act. The board will return to open session in the boardroom at 6:02 p.m. The superintendent, leadership team, Mr. Dick, and Ms. Simmons are invited into executive session.
Is there a second for that? Mr. Tatum, any discussion? Okay, we'll go to a vote.
And the vote is open. All votes are in and the motion carries.
Thank you. right here.
I
Now,
move, okay.
Sue's not with us.
Yes, she is.
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I move the Board of Education USD 501 recess into executive session for 30 minutes to consult with our attorney on matters protected by the attorney-client privilege to protect the board's position in potential litigation. The board will return to open session in the boardroom at 6:33 PM. Superintendent and board attorney are invited to executive session.
And who's
I'll second.
Mr. Tatum second? And all in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Thank
Hey,
you.
that's my motion. This is
Thank
correct.
you. It carries. Thank you. Okay, we will resume our session with it being 6:33. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Perfect. We have Miss Sanders Johnson here. Can you stand and prepare for the Pledge of Allegiance? The camera's gonna focus on you. Come on over here. Oh, yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job.
Thank you. And we will keep moving. So up next is the adoption of the agenda. And so I'm looking for a motion for that.
Mr. President, I move the board adopt the agenda with 2 additions. And those would be 21.1 to discuss Board Policy 2350, in addition of a 21.2 to discuss FUSIS.
Is there a second on that? Yes, Dr. Bonebrake. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, we will move to a vote.
Join this session, so I will go ahead and put her not present at vote.
Okay, thank you.
And the motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, we get to move to the fun part.
Telling you recognition of our people first and foremost, our students is the fun part. So please enjoy the video that we'll start with, and then we're going to bring Miss Sanders Johnson up. This video debuts this evening.
Hi, my name is Natalia Sanders Johnson, and I am a senior at Hope Street. I am involved in the Student Ambassador, which means that I am one of the leaders in the face of the school. Last year at TCalc, I did the culinary program, and what I do now this year is I do the patient care tech program.
She is an all-star, fantastic student. She's the top of her class with the highest GPA of our seniors. She strives to be the best at everything she does. She takes on challenges.
Natalia is one of our exemplary students. If I need anything to be that person in the building to rely on, she is one of my first kids that I go to.
She's a student that really stands out, going above and beyond. Natalia has just taken advantage of every single opportunity to be successful.
When she came to Hope Street, she recognized that she had more potential. Her potential started to come out and people started to build her up. And she took it and ran.
I think when I transferred over here, it was a big struggle because it was so small here and everybody knew everybody, and I wasn't used to that. But as time trickled on, I really started to like it here, and I became like a little social butterfly over here.
If you meet her, she is confident, she is self-aware, she is not scared to tell you what's on her mind, but she also knows how to do it in a way that you want to listen and be part of that conversation and debate.
She's enjoyed the challenge of learning something new, and that's really important because whatever she does, all of these things will come into play.
I want to go to Emporia, and then I also want to trickle my way to Washburn University, and I want to study law. I wanted to be a judge when I was younger. If you ask my mom, she wants to be my little judge. She wants to be my little judge. So yeah, that was me.
I think she will be an exceptional lawyer if she decides to go that route. She has a good thought process. She thinks things through. She'll research. She'll investigate.
I really see that as a good fit for her because that's a good way to advocate for other people who can't advocate for themselves. I think she'll do that.
Stay focused and stay dedicated. Do big things. Go explore things. Go outside your nature. Go outside your box. Because if you don't, then you're not going to know what's out there. If you didn't start doing it while you were young, you wouldn't have got there as you are today.
Miss Sanders Johnson, can you come up, please? You are being recognized as the January Senior of the Month on January 8th, 2026. We are so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Now stay on up. Your principal, Miss Johnson, is also going to be joining us. And as your principal joins, I believe she has a gift and maybe some additional comments. And then they're probably going to want to ask you some questions.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Natalia is a standout. So just so you know, she is one of those kids that is confident and secure in herself. And she knows that she has something to contribute. And she doesn't hold back. She shares it. And so wherever she's at, she brings that. And whether it's in the classroom or just in public or wherever we're at, we can count on Natalia to be a role model, a shining example of what we want from our young people. And she knows that she has limitless potential. And so she holds her own standard very high. We don't have to do that with Natalia. She is going to hold herself accountable to be the very best version of herself that she can be. So we are immensely proud of her.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Introduce. Oh, ask you questions. Anybody with you?
Nobody introduced, but my family.
Yes, you do.
Like that, but my school's here and my family is here, and I'm so like thankful for them because if it wasn't for them, like I would not be here right now. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to the Board of Education. But I just want to say that I'm really truly thankful for all of them and for my journey and being there for me.
Are there questions from the board for Natalia? Yes, Mr. Tatum.
Congratulations, Natalia.
Thank you.
This is a great honor. And we're also very proud of you as we watch your success. I'm really curious. You kind of touched on, the fact that you have some family members here. Would you mind introducing us to the family members that you have present with you?
The family members I have present right here, I have my mom, my dad, my siblings in the front row. Then I got my godmom, my niece. Well, not my niece. Why did I say that? But anyways, my cousin, my grandma, my aunties, and then I have my Mimi, and then my grandma, and then my aunt.
Man, that's a whole cheering section. That's awesome. So you got quite a few people who are lifting you up, carrying you forward. That's going to take you a lot of places in life. So all the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Other questions for, yes, Dr. Bulbrake?
Talia, you got such great potential. Reach for the stars. You can't always see them because sometimes it's dark, but they're still there. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Munoz.
First off, I want to say this is the largest family group I've seen that I remember, which is awesome. We need more more individuals who have our back like you have. So that's great. Kudos to you all. Having family is important, but it's also having staff and teachers in the school. And I wonder if you might sort of share with us who's here from Hope Street that you might sort of like to introduce us to.
I just wanted to introduce to all my teachers right here because I don't have like a favorite, but all of them is like special in their unique ways, like help.
Point them out for us. Let's see.
So starting with Mr. Pleasant, because he's sitting there looking at me smiling. He helped me in ways that like with my writing and stuff like that. Like I'm not that good like with grammar all the time and stuff like that. And he really like helped me with like my writing and the way I speak and how I like word things. So then when people hear it in like the tone of my voice, it don't sound like ghetto or like stuff like that. Like it actually sounds like I have something meaningful to say. And then I have Miss Frisbee over here next to him. Yeah. She helps me in ways like when I really do need somebody to talk to, like when everybody else is like not available, she's always there. And like not in a bad way, but she's like always there. Like she's like my sunshine of my day. And then I got my mission niece, Buki. She's the office secretary. I just love her so much. Like she's really been there like since day one. Like I didn't even have to like say hi, hello, or nothing. I just walked through the door and she just noticed me. And then I have Miss Whitaker. She's the school counselor, social worker. She is really like a big, huge part of my journey too, as well. She's always there like when I need her, and she's always there when I need the support. She's there for when I'm like happy, and she's always there when I'm sad, or I just, just want to hang out with her. So yes. And then I have my other counselor in the back, Miss Wabunti, the one I've been with all fourth hour this year. She's always guiding me and just always pushing me to do things that I don't want to do. Like I'll go in there, I'll be like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then she'll always be like, well, you got to do it because you want to go somewhere, right? And then I have Miss Nancy. She's one of the other office secretaries, and she's always been there since day one, since I started. And just, she's always there like when I need to talk to her or anything, or if I just need any help. And then I also have in the back, Miss King. She's the one in the daycare. I really don't see her like that, but she's really played like an important part of me being at Hope Street. She's always saying hi to me. She always, Natalia. When I have like events and stuff, she's willing to show up. And then I have Mr. Conroy. He was a big part of my role too. I even met him before I even had a class with him. Like I didn't even have him as a student, but I ended up becoming close with him and stuff like that. I took him for zoology 1 and 2, and I was really happy to have the experience of that. And then I have Miss Schnacker. I had her this year for Algebra 2, and she really has been a big help. Like anytime I needed help with algebra and stuff like that, and where I was confused at, she'll help me, and she'll just make it like easier for all of us in the classroom. And then I have Miss Kaufman. I don't have her as like a class or anything. I never had her, but I just know that like if I'm have something going on like that's exciting or something like that, she's there to cheer me on. Oh, and then the last but not least, Mr. Fulbright. Mr. Fulbright, I had him for U.S. History Part 1. I took him like second semester because I had Part B first. But I really liked his class, even though sometimes it'd be like, oh my God, like I just don't want to be in here. But it was really nice to have the experience with him. And he always like got us to think about like real world problems and real stuff from like the past and how we can incorporate it in the future.
Well, thank you for taking the time to introduce us. Thank you
Yes.
to everybody.
Mrs. Boley.
Well, you know, we always are thanking our teachers, which they deserve it tremendously, but very rarely do we have the secretaries thanked and come. And they are so important to the beginning of our day. They can either be grouchy at us or make us feel welcome. And that you two have made her feel so welcome and important. And so we really thank you for doing that, because you are the first faces that most of our students see. And I already knew that the staff at Hope Street were always reaching out to the students, but it's so nice that you took time to come as well. And then I want to really commend this family back here. You know, it takes a village. And you brought your village.
I sure did.
Oh, the whole village is here. Look at this. And I just commend all of you for supporting her like you have. Look at the distance she has run. And you have brought her here. And I know you're going to get her through college. And I know you're going to be helping lives when you're a judge in a circuit court. I know you will be, because you have such power to redirect lives. And I can tell you have the heart for that.
Yes.
So good luck to you. And when you get to be that judge, will you come back and share that with Topeka Public Schools?
Yes.
And like come in with your robe and prance around and be proud? We would love that.
Yes.
Thank you all for being such a pillar of support for this young lady.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Schmidt.
So I have a special place in my heart for Hope Street, as I had a child that graduated from Hope Street. And I see that in your journey, you started Hope Street your sophomore year.
Yes, ma'am.
So I love your transparency and your authenticity. I want you to talk about the difference from where you were your freshman year, wherever you were at. We don't have to name the school. And then how Hope Street was different and how that helped you get to where you are today.
It's okay. I can share the school. So I was at Holland Park. Yes, I was at Holland Park for my freshman year. And when I first started there, like things were going good for like second semester. And then when it just trickled on in the second semester, I just didn't want to be there no more. Like I just started skipping and stuff like that and just didn't want to be in class. Like I just didn't have the motivation to be there no more. And then like just hanging out with the students that I was hanging out with, like got me in trouble and stuff like that. And I ended up getting into a fight and I got expelled from there. And then as during my expulsion or whatever, I really had a special person like from my school when I went to Eisenhower, the principal, Mr. Schwartz at the time. We seen him at one of my sister's music concerts and stuff like that, and he came into it with my mom or whatever, and they started talking, and my mom was telling him like she's doing bad like at school and just just not being the Natalia who they see that I am. And he was like, okay, what can we do about that? And my mom was telling him that we think we should move schools and find somewhere better, just not Holland Park. And he was talking and he was like, well, I know somebody at Hope Street, Mr. Knoll at the time. And he was like, I can put in the word for him or you like do the application. So we did it and they denied me at first. And that was kind of a struggle. I kind of cried because I'm like, oh my God, like what am I going to do? And luckily that Mr. Shorts like had talked to Mr. Knoll and stuff like that. And he was willing to have a meeting with me. And in that meeting, it was me, my mom, Mr. Knoll, and Miss Siemens at the time, the other counselor before she retired. We all sat down and we had talked and he was like, so why do you want to be here and stuff like that? And I just said that I really want to make a change for myself. Like I don't want to end up as another number or I don't want to sit there and do bad like throughout my school years. And he was like, okay, well, I see like you're not a bad kid. Like you do good in your academics and stuff like that, but it's just your behavior that you need to change. So I did a contract, I signed it, and I just been doing good ever since. Like he really did believe me and push me to be better.
So again, just another shout out to the staff at Hope Street, right? We all know that you can't shove a circle into a square hole. It's just not going to work. And Hope Street has created an environment where we can take these kids that, instead of turning our back on them, you guys are offering them something different. You're meeting them where they're at and walking them all the way to success. So kudos to you guys. Kudos to you for recognizing that a change is good for you. That's not easy to do.
Yes, and it
Change
really
is
wasn't.
hard.
Like I was really sitting there like, oh, like everything's just going bad for me. Like it just felt like I was digging myself in a deep hole I could not get out of. And like just being there at school, it just felt like, yes, I can overcome this challenge. I can climb my way out this hole and I can be somebody and be a new flower for somebody else.
So that is your legacy.
Natalia, I just want to say thank you for coming. I've known Natalia for a while now, I think before Hope Street.
Yes.
And, we think about January 1st, and I think probably everybody in this room thinks about a change that they want to make. And most of those, by January 8th, those changes are gone. You decided that there was a change that you were going to make, and you stuck to it. And remember, that was you that did that. And your potential, like Mrs. Johnson said, is limitless. And there's a lot of people, and there will always be a lot of people that support you in that. And I think that's the uniqueness of Hope Street. But also, I didn't even know, I know your cousins and
Yes.
your family support is limitless. So I just wanted to say congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you to you because even though like you may just be my doctor, I see you every yearly.
You're not supposed to say that. That's a HIPAA. No, just kidding.
But yes, even though I see you like yearly, but I just really like say like I'm really thankful for you too because like the advice that you have given me like to me and my mom like in our appointments and stuff like that, it was really helpful.
Thank you.
Gotta do one more brag on you.
Yes.
Let it not go unnoticed that we found out this week she won a scholarship through the Living the Dream Foundation due to the amazing essay She rose. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And what, like 3 minutes? We're gonna take a break.
So we'll pause and take a picture. Yeah.
Got room for all of us?
We'll make it work. Yeah.
All right, yeah. I'll look this way. 3, 1, 2, 3.
He has your PowerPoint. Does he have your PowerPoint or? Okay.
There you go, girl. Oh my God. It's like at a wedding. Everybody hug the bride. Hey, Natalia, turn around real quick. Got it? Okay. You're fine. You want us to hold them out? Hold them out. Grab them. We're kind of noisy.
Yeah, maybe. So we will continue to move. Thank you again to everybody for coming. And we'll move to public communications. Ms. Lister, do we have? Okay, no communications. And so we'll move down to our disposition of business by consent.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the board president or superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contracts for and on behalf of the board.
Is there a second to that motion? Yeah, Mrs. Bully. Discussion on any of the consent items? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to a vote.
All votes are in and the motion carries.
Great, thank you. And then I'll turn it back over to Dr. Anderson.
All right, at this time, we didn't acknowledge and mention that because you'll be acknowledged again at the next meeting, School Board Appreciation Month, I believe. We have gifts that are there this evening, or is that next time? All right, so you have some gifts that should be at your table today from the schools. They send in cards and shirts and all of those things. You have clothing generally at the very last meeting, and then there will be a video highlight of you showing throughout the course of the month. With that, as we move on to our very next item, so happy School Board Appreciation. And when you start thinking about that, man, what a perfect celebration having Natalia here to start us off. As we prepare this evening, we do have a guest speaker from the Kansas School Board Association. Throughout the month of January, School Board Appreciation, he's working with us on working with you on training and what it means to be a board member. So I'm going to turn it over to our trainer. I will ask and just say for a few moments, just a little bio. While I don't have his full bio in front of me, I will share that for multiple years, in fact, I think more than a decade, Dr. Doug Meckel has been with the Kansas School Board. Mrs. Whiteman shares that many call him the board whisperer because he does train across the state. He also has led the process for evaluations for boards, for superintendents, and has done a host of work with school districts, working as an educator himself in Kansas, and now one of the lead trainers for the state of Kansas. So we're excited to have him here from the Kansas School Board Association, and we'll turn it over to Dr. Meckel. Sir.
I'll give this, can you hear me? Give this a try. Well, good evening. So I would imagine I appear pretty old. But I would tell you there's a reason. It's because I am old. But because I'm old, I'm a little bit old fashioned. So we're going to do a lot of work tonight, but most of the work's going to be you. I'm going to be sharing some thoughts, but I'm going to put you to work at your tables with your board mates. So the first activity, before we even move the slide one time, is I want you to think back to your youth when you were younger. What was some of the best advice? We heard a pretty good example of advice a while ago. What's some of the best advice a mentor, a coach, a teacher, a family member, grandparent gave you that helped make you successful? So on a piece, I know there's a piece of scratch paper there. Jot down a key thought, a key word. What's the best advice you were given as a young person? Now, at your table, that's going to be your secret. I'm not going to make anybody share or report out. It's your thought process, something that motivated you and helped make you successful. The reason I wanted to frame that idea is because tonight I'm going to spend time appealing to that good nature, whatever that was. Was it to be kind to others, treat others with respect, show gratitude, serve others? I have no idea what the advice was, but I'm going to appeal to you because what I do, I'm not an attorney. So there's not one thing I'm going to talk to you tonight about that you have to do. Nothing you have to do. But I'm going to give you a chance to make a choice about what we can do to become a high-performing board. That's really as simple as I can make it. I want you to have a good time doing it. I want you to feel a little less formal. I want you to be a little relaxed as we go through this process. And you're going to be talking to a shoulder partner. Are you sitting by someone you're comfortable visiting with? Because if you're not, you can always move. Okay, let's begin this process. I only have about an hour, but let's walk through this together. Let's see if we can make it a good experience for everyone. So if this moves, we're going to spend time talking about what high performance teams do. So again, nothing I'm going to tell you is something you have to do, but we can choose to be as good a team as we would like to be. I'll try again. Oh, it worked. So in this simple slide, and I know it's a lot of stuff, but it's very simple. It's simple for this reason. This one slide could be a whole board training in itself because it identifies how important your work is, the impact you have on students, families, and communities. The very top, the very first thing it says is strong school board leadership drives student success. I hope you understand how important that is. You are the ones that set the tone for the district, right here in this room. Another simple insight. At the bottom, it talks about the success that you have because of the systems you develop and oversee. That's you. That's the school board. That's your role. Another insight, it's important, is effective governance creates those conditions. It creates great teaching and learning possibilities for your kids. And if there's anything we should talk about, it's always what we do is what makes a difference for the kids we serve. Couple more insights. At the board table, your job isn't to manage the day-to-day operations of a school. That's not what boards do. You're a governance body. but it is the shape, the conditions that do impact the students we serve. And the last one is kind of the roughest one of all. Because if you do this right, as a school board, it makes a difference. If we choose to be a high-performing team and work together, we can make a difference. But if we don't, that's the challenge. So we'll spend some time talking about that tonight. So the very simple agenda. We're going to spend some time talking about why we serve, what we do, and how we do it. So the first thing we're going to discuss is our why. So on your scratch paper, write down why you decided to run and serve on the school board, what you hope will be better for students because you served, and what you want to stand for as a board member, even when it's difficult. So we're going to do this as a really simple activity. Think and write first, and then I'll give you an opportunity to speak. I'm moving away from the mic so far. Does it matter? Doesn't matter to me. What made you decide to run and serve? Once you've had a chance to write down your thoughts, turn to your shoulder partner and share your responses with your shoulder partner. We're not going to report out. It's not going to be on the mic. Just talk to your shoulder partner. All right, looks like the conversations have stopped. I'm not going to have anybody report out, but I'm going to give anyone an opportunity to report out if you would like to share your why. So I'm not going to make anyone, but is there anyone who would like to share why they chose to serve? You don't have to.
I'll share mine.
Okay.
So I put service. I am lucky to have the ability to devote time into a job that doesn't pay me anything. And specifically, kids are my life as a pediatrician. So serving the youth and this district made me. I came from this district. And I feel like what I learned in this district has made me who I am today. And so serving that youth specifically is why I did this in the first place and continue to do it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, no, you look fine.
So I wanted to serve because I always believed that educators should be on school boards. They know the business, they know what happens in the school buildings, they know this. If you, for instance, I was a past 501 educator, so I worked in the system, so I had some clear view there. But I also wanted to be able to help spread the word of what Topeka Public Schools does for all students. Our doors open and we educate whatever comes through our door. And particularly before Dr. Anderson came, we were just like the underdogs in the district. You don't want to send your children there. But our district is amazing, and I wanted to be able to be a voice for that.
Fantastic. Okay, I have just two more questions. We're going to do it the same way though. Okay, it's going to be a think, write, serve. These are harder. These are more difficult. Why do you hope we share as a board? What is a why you hope we share as a board? This is why we do this. And what one sentence should I understand or be able to use to help guide us when we on occasion disagree? Okay, so think, write, and then I'll give you a chance to share. Looks like everyone is ready to share your thoughts. Talk about the why you hope we can share as a board, and talk about something we could do that would help us when we do on occasion disagree.
Are we supposed to talk first?
Talk first, we can.
Oh.
Kill me.
Okay. Even if we, yeah.
Hey, it looks like everybody is ready to process a little bit. So I want to frame this. I couldn't have set this up better. We came in tonight and we honored a student of the month. And if that doesn't tell you the why, I mean, you couldn't have arranged that better. That's the why, but that's from my perspective. You've written down your why, but what is our why? When you think about you as a board, what is our why? Can we find a way to share that? Does anyone want to share that with the group?
I wrote down, help the kids who need it the most. Yeah, we serve lots of different types of kids from lots of different places and help those who need it the most. So,
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, remember, I'm not trying to make you report out. I want to give you a chance to share when you want to. How about the second question? This is a little bit tougher yet. Is there one sentence that should guide us when we disagree? See a hand.
I think that's our mission statement, which is right there on the wall.
Again, she kind of stole a little bit of my thunder, but what I would tell you, the mission and vision of a district has to be so powerful that drives us to work together no matter what. That's how powerful it has to be. So you kind of stole that thunder there, but that's outstanding. Any other thoughts? One sentence.
What is best for our students and our families?
Good. How'd you do that?
Well-
Oh, you okay?
Okay,
What is best for our students and our family? Excellent. So we're going to go a little bit further here. We're going to spend a little more time. One of the most important things for governance boards to remember, and remember, you're a governance board. You have an oversight process in your work. And a lot of people get confused about that. You know, if you're on a 4-H board and you guys have put your heads together and decide what to do, we're going to work on a park. You all go home, grab your shovel, grab your rake, and you go out and work on cleaning up the park. That's what a 4-H board does. Okay, that's not what a school board does. A school board has governance, and that's your role. So the most important thing, if nothing else that we take away from this conversation, is this simple quote. It's not your job to run the district. It's your job to make sure that the district is well run. So that's the process of when we put 6 tonight, 7 heads together, that's our work. When we get together, that's what we're focused on. Is this district meeting this mission? That's your question. So let's dig a little bit deeper into this process. Years ago, they asked board members some great insights. Is anybody old enough to remember David Letterman? I feel, okay, good. I put that up and I thought, God, I'm so old, no one even knows who David Letterman. He doesn't look like that anymore. Yeah, he got, but anyway, he asked, what are some great lessons that you could share with people as they serve on boards? And so this was the top 10. Here's what they said most often. Remember the top 10 list? Okay, here they are. Number 1, determining what your function is on the board and how you can accomplish it effectively. Understanding your role. You know, this camera's blocking my vision. I know. That's number 1. Number 2, I think it says no matter what. No matter what you think you know about board service, you still have a lot to learn. So you may have been on the board 1 year, you may have been on 20 years. There's something about continuing to learn that's really important. Number 3, learning to publicly acknowledge that you have no power and authority as an individual board member. When you gather together, you have a lot of authority, a lot of responsibilities. But when you're downtown or at the grocery store, you have no authority. But when do people see you? At the grocery store, when you're downtown. And guess what people have a tendency to do? I've got something I want to tell you. I want to talk, I have a concern. And what they don't understand is you're just a regular citizen when you're not together at the table. So that's one of the things that's really important to remember and to learn. Number 4, recognize the difference between setting policy, which is your job, and administering the schools is the superintendent's job. Your oversight means we set the policy, but it's the superintendent's job to administer the schools. Number 5, we're halfway there. That only the board as a whole can make policies and decision for the district. Okay, it takes all 7 of you. Now, what do we know about that? At least 4 have to agree. Number 5, number 6, that you must represent all students. And I thought you made that very clear earlier. We're here for all kids. Okay? And your decisions have to be made for what's best for everyone. You can't cave to special interest groups and people who have pressure, put pressure on you that may not serve all kids. Number 7, I'm going quick. Know how to respond or not respond to the complaints and concerns from our citizens. School administrators, teachers, and other staff is an important part of your job. You're going to have complaints. Years ago, I had a board member raise her hand at a meeting and she said, if we have to make hard decisions, how am I going to make everybody happy? You're going to make hard decisions. You're not going to make everybody happy. Hey, that's the role, that's the work, that's the part of this service. Number 8, change comes slowly. As fast as we'd like to make a change, it does not work that way. It comes slowly. Number 9, that you personally can't solve everyone's problem by yourself. You can help, but you can't solve every problem. You're one of 7. And of course, the last one, what you must think deeply and sometimes accept a reality that's contrary to what you believe. On occasion, I do have to tell boards things they don't like to hear sometimes. Sometimes your great idea doesn't get 4 votes. That happens. This is the hard thing. I often remind them that maybe it wasn't a good idea then. If it was a great idea, you'll probably get 4 votes. So keep that in mind. That's the top 10 list. So always think of Letterman. Here's a real quick overview of what we do then. Okay, you have 7 responsibilities. Some refer to them as authority. These are the board authorities, but they're pretty simple. Your job as a board is to establish the vision, mission, and goals. That's your job. Number 2 is you write the policy that serve your district. Now, your policies are your policies. They're 501 policies. Now, what I often hear, well, KSB writes policy, but that's not your policy. They write example or sample policies that are vetted so that they're legal. Remember, all policies have to abide by state and federal law, but they give you sample policies, but your board determines what your policies are. You also are responsible for handbooks. By the way, handbooks or where the rubber meets the road with your policy. That's what your student handbooks, your staff handbooks. Those are the things that determine, and they have to align, by the way. If your handbook says one thing and your policy says another, we're going to have a conflict. You are responsible for directives to the superintendent. That's as a board. If 4 of you say we need to do this, then that's what the superintendent's a directive. That's what she will do. You also get to evaluate the superintendent. That is a critical job that you have. And then the last 2, you are responsible for negotiating in the negotiated agreement. And of course, finally, you oversee budget and finance. So that's the 7 responsibilities in a nutshell. That's what boards do. So there's some implications and repercussions if we don't do that. If we struggle and we wander down other paths, if we don't do these things well, there's a loss of governance focus. If we get involved in other things, it takes us away from our job. It also breaks down board and superintendent relations. If we start, I think we should do this, And the board said, now, the board as 7 decides what we do. It also, when you struggle with these 7, it erodes the board's unity and authority. So when we work together, that high-performing team, we can get it done. And when the board struggles, the community sees a decline in trust in the board. Be very conscious of that, okay? How well we work together determines how successful we'll be in accomplishing that mission. The board drifts on occasion, that's a problem. Be careful. Make sure you understand the roles that you have. It helps make the district effective. Individual members acting independently will undermine the voice of the board. And obviously, when we appear confused or conflicted, it has an impact in how people view us. So let's talk a little bit about how we do that then. This is what we're going to get done together. So this part is the most difficult. So we know what we do. So how do we do it? So I'm going to give you the simplest example that I can think of. Because almost everybody has lived this. You know, everybody knows what a four-way stop is, right? And why is that so important? Why are they all over town? Because if we don't honor four-way stops, what's going to happen? We're going to have accidents. Now, I will say this, does everybody you know honor four-way stops? No, they don't. And so that's why they call it defensive driving, right? There's only one thing worse than a four-way stop, it's a circle, right? Yeah. Four-way stop, this is something we have to recognize. There's a reason it exists. It's to help us be safer, to help us be better. On occasion, people don't follow that. That's a good heads up for a board. We have to follow and honor that same type model. So when I think of a four-way stop, things that you have to do really well. You have to communicate. You have to speak and share. And when I say that, one thing you really have to do is learn to listen. Because when you listen, you have a chance to learn. And when you learn, you make better decisions. The next area is self-awareness. Be very conscious of how you are viewed and perceived by others. So believe it or not, I'm relatively big. And sometimes people would think I can be intimidated just because I'm big. I'm not intimidated, but if I have to be aware of that, I have to be conscious of that. If I look angry at someone, they have a tendency, hey, well, you got to be careful. When we treat each other that way, then we don't function at the same high level. The bottom, we have to have respect. We have to wait and yield and honor each other. And of course, the one on the far right is we have to proceed carefully. We have to build trust. So that's simple example. And I know it's simple, but in reality, it's what we see every day. And there's countless examples of people who don't honor this. Well, if they don't honor it in the street, it's an accident. If we don't honor it at the board, it's going to be an accident. And that's not what we want. It's not what we want. Couple things to remember. Pause and stop. Understand your role as governance and policy group. Listen, take turns. Don't get angry at each other if you disagree. Okay? It's not personal. We're trying to get better. And those discussions from listening and learning with each other will help us make better decisions. And of course, if we get into those hot moments where there's tension and we're working on a tough issue, yield and listen to each other. They may come up with a better idea. That terrible term, compromise. Right now, we don't compromise on anything. If I don't get my way, we're wrong. No, a compromise is simply that. It means I didn't get everything I wanted and you didn't get anything you wanted, but we found a way to get something done. And boards need to learn to compromise. And I wish I could tell a lot of other people who work at a different level of government, they need to learn to compromise. We would be better if we found a way to do that. So that's your charge. Let's talk a little bit deeper about what a governance board is and what a governance board is not. A couple of things for you to remember. Okay? A governance board doesn't get involved in the day-to-day operations. You'll hear about day-to-day operations and you will get a report about everyday operations, Part of the challenge is you're going to get a text, a phone call, a Facebook post that gives you insights about what happened at school. That's going to happen. But make sure as a board that we convey that message through our superintendent so that they're aware of it. Investigate individual complaints is not something boards do. If you hear a complaint, again, move that to the right chain of command. Don't promise solutions to anyone other than working together with the board. The best promise you can make is I'll work with the board to see what we can do to address that. That's the best promise you can make. And don't try to run the district through any informal settings. What I don't want to do is walk out and say, you know, I wish I had a better clicker, right? We don't get to do that, okay? Because when I do, now I've just confused who do I answer to? The board member or the superintendent or the principal? Don't confuse that. The superintendent leads, supervises, and manages. The board governs. So here's what the hierarchy looks like. Really a simple model. At the very top of this, the parents and community elected you to serve as board members. Okay? And they are going to communicate with you in a multitude of ways. Sometimes it's going to be great. We had a whole family here tonight. I guarantee you they felt good about 501. I'll guarantee you that because they had a major accomplishment. But there's going to be somebody that doesn't. And they're going to have an idea for you. They're going to have something you need to fix. So that's going to be constant. But as a board, when you get that information, that needs to go to the superintendent because that's where we can make something happen based upon that. Now, an individual board member that has a concern, that's just a notification. That's not a decision. That's a notification. But when it comes to the surface that then the board's going to end up discussing or dealing with it, then it becomes a board decision. But at this point, it's just a concern or a complaint. The superintendent oversees the district. You have assistant soups. You're a large enough district. You have assistant soups. You have directors, building leaders, teachers, support staff, and that whole premise at the very bottom is where that mission happens. The very bottom of that hierarchy is where that mission happens. And since this is your system, this is what you oversee. This is what you oversee. A couple of things to remember, and I know I won't be able to read it to you from that, but remember, this is a representative democracy. It means someone trusted you enough to elect you to represent them. Well, I'm just right out in the middle. This is where I want to. Right, I just feels correct. Right in the middle. Sorry, I'll back up. It's a representative democracy. So they elected you to lead on behalf of them so that they don't have to get together and vote on every decision that has to be made. That's why you're here. And right below that, there we go. That means you represent the public and the board members who are elected speak for the students, parents, and community. Okay, that's who you speak for. That's why you're here. And I've got one more click. You probably can see it. It's on the other side. Couple other things to remember. The job of the superintendent is to, one, keep you well informed with information that's timely so that there aren't surprises. Okay? It's to carry out your directives. This is the direction we said we want to go, and that is her job to make that happen. Basically, the easiest way to tell you that is you establish what we want to do, and it's her job to execute that. That's the way this works. Okay? Advise the board professionally. Her job is to give you good recommendations so that we can make better decisions. That's her area of expertise. And then, of course, you have to work hard together to build trust and strong relationships. If we don't work well together, we won't be very effective. Easy to understand, hard to do. I understand we need to work together, but man, it's hard to do. You have to find a way to make that happen. So there's some things that happen when we don't. If we don't honor that and we don't work together, some bad things can happen with it. It creates that confusion and we get mixed messages. Mixed messages do not help us make clear, well-defined decisions. It undermines the leadership. If I can bypass anyone in that process, if I can go past the superintendent to an assistant superintendent or to a teacher in a classroom, it's going to undermine what we're trying to accomplish. Remember, it's going to affect our system, and that's what you oversee. Be really careful. It also increases conflict and mistrust. You know, on occasion, I've worked with boards for so long. On occasion, a board member will work around the chain of command. You know, I'm good friends with so-and-so and I'll talk to them. What that board member may not understand is what that does to the other board. If one board member can get what he or she wants done without having the support of the other six, how do you think they feel? You know, I'm not a board member too. Do I not have a voice in this? Of course you do. So increase conflict and mistrust happens when we work around that model. So the relationship between the board and superintendent and staff will become strained and people will get defensive. It's just the way it works. Staff and teacher morale will decline because they found a way to work around the system and it affects them. They don't know who's in charge, micromanagement, polarization. So that's what boards can't do. High-performing boards don't do that. So remember we talked about what we want to do, be a high-performing board. Couple things to remember. You only make decisions as a group, not as individuals. You have no authority. We talked about that earlier. The board only acts when the majority votes in public meeting. Has to be here. 7 members. That means at least 4 members must agree. And then ultimately, votes happen. Discussions and opinions that are promised by individual board members may not represent the board. And I will tell you, and this is another example of the world of politics that exists. If people don't agree with what my vote was, nowadays they stand in front of a microphone, in front of a Capitol someplace, and they talk about how bad the other guys were. You notice that? They don't care about America. They don't care about people. They're terrible. They're evil because they didn't agree with me. Well, how do you build compromise and effective governance when all you do is point fingers at each other? We can't do that. You have to be way above that as a school board. School board, you have to set the example for what it should look like everywhere. That's the challenge. I may leave that as the challenge for every board, but I'm telling you specifically, don't let that fall into disarray. One board member has a voice, but it takes 4 board members to have authority. Everybody gets to vote. Everybody gets a voice, but it takes 4 to make that happen. So we're headed towards the end here. Here's a couple simple thoughts. This is the simplest model we've ever used to talk about how board governance works. At the very top of this governance clock is what the board does. You establish a vision. And once you've established that vision, you put together the policies to make that vision happen. Once you've adopted the policies, it moves below the line into the superintendent's part of the clock. And their job is to develop the plans. You said you wanted to see this. These are the plans to make that happen. Once they've developed the plans, they implement them. Okay, you said we're here, and here's what we're going to do to make. I think Hope Street School was a good example, right? We're going to do that. Okay, then we monitor the progress. This is what we're doing. And then ultimately it goes back to the board side again, and you evaluate the results. Did it look the way we wanted it to look? That's how simple that is. So everything above that line is about the board's decisions. And everything below that line is about the superintendent's recommendations. Her job is not to tell you what to do, it's to give you recommendations. Okay? All that being said, there's a couple keys. They look like this: communication, communication, communication. The more and the better you communicate, the easier this work is and the better you will be able to serve. It's that simple. I want to talk a little bit about why communication is so important. there's this simple quadrant. If you look on that horizontal line, it talks about communication. You look on the vertical line, it talks about trust. I'm not going to pick on you, Dr. Shoemaker, but I want to give an example. At the upper right-hand corner, it means we have high trust and high communications. And when you think about a good example of that, it's this simple example. It is a high-performing medical team in the ER or in the heart surgery, and they are working together. They're on the same page. The urgency is real. We have to save this patient, right? It's real. And that communication is high level. By the way, we all need to live in that quadrant. We need to live in quadrant 1. It's important and it's urgent. But over time, what has a tendency to happen is when communications are high and trust is high, we kind of drift a little bit to that left quadrant, number 2. So we still have high levels of trust, but we kind of get in cruise control. And I didn't need to share that. You knew that. Oh, everybody understood that. You ever heard the term assumptions? We start making assumptions. And you can live in cruise control great until you hit a bump or until the semi wheels over a little bit closer, right? That changes everything. You can't live in cruise control. You always get back to quadrant 1. Now, if you don't do a good job in cruise control and you hit that bump, then you walk down to quadrant 3. And quadrant 3, that's a snake oil salesman. Okay? There's a lot of communication, but I don't trust them. We're talking to each other. We're not learning. We're not hearing. I don't trust them. You can't go there. And then ultimately, quadrant 4, when you don't communicate well and you don't have high levels of trust, that's when it's just an accident waiting to happen. So turn to your shoulder partner. Will you still talk to each other? You're mad at each other. Turn to your shoulder partner and spend a little time talking about what can we do to ensure we stay in quadrant 1 as a board and superintendent. I'll give you about 2 minutes. I won't make you report out, but I want your ideas. That was just a lot better standing.
Yeah. That's great because the camera follows you over to go. It's hard to stand behind the podium. Talk behind that. Better when you have a little bit more closer proximity, just in terms of even engagement. It's good.
And we're missing one.
Yes, traveling. She's supposed to be online. Yes.
Watch the stream.
You can watch the streaming, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to bring you back because I'm taking up time for the rest of your meeting. We started the day by talking about giving to your good nature. Remember? Okay, we started the evening talking about reminding you that there's nothing I'm going to talk about that I can make you do. Nothing. I can't make you be a better communicator. You have to choose to be a better communicator. But I would tell you, if we don't communicate well, and stay in that quadrant one, it's going to harm our trust. And when we lose trust, here's great, but if you read this book, it's an old book now. It is a great book. Stephen Covey talks about speed of trust, and it changes everything. So basically what he says is this: there's a dividend for having high levels of trust with the people you work and serve with. And there's a tax for having low levels of trust. It looks pretty simple. When you have high trust, you have high speed and low cost. We can do this because this is where we're going. That's why. Information's openly shared, it's transparent. It's out there for everybody. Mistakes are tolerated. Oh, we had an accident, we made a mistake, but we can learn from it. We don't condemn. And you know, when you condemn people for making a mistake, guess what they have a tendency to not do next time? They're not going to be open and transparent because I don't want you to, why don't we get in trouble? Okay? It allows us to be innovative and it creates positive culture, which is a whole nother workshop when you talk about building culture. It creates loyalty to each other. It allows straight talk. We can talk about hard things because we know we're focused on the same why. We're all here to have a difference and make a difference for kids. It allows us to have open communications and collaboration. We can work together. It makes sharing credit and positive energy. When we do great things, it doesn't matter who gets the credit because we're doing great things. That's, again, we saw it. You were doing great things tonight. Who gets it? We did great things because you provided an opportunity for a child. That's fantastic. The opposite, when we get in the bottom quadrant, low trust, low communication, it slows everything down and the costs are high. When I have information, I withhold it or I hoard it because I know something you don't know. The old saying, knowledge is power. When I know something you don't know, that's not a good model. It doesn't build trust. You spin the truth. You make the story a little bit better than what it really is because I want to make it appear better than it really was. When getting credit is so important that we can't find a way to work together, high-performing teams don't care who gets credit. Mistakes are covered up or it's someone else's fault. When you don't have trust, we're looking to blame someone instead of resolving the problem. Water cooler talk, the famous meeting after the meeting, when we get together and put our head, well, we should have done, I don't know why we, no, do it here when you can do something about it. Overpromise and underperform or making excuses, and it really impacts our energy level. So that's his whole premise of his whole book. So the final thing I want to give you, I'm going to have a chance to talk. You know me, I told you I'd let you talk. Creating trust, there's only one way you can create trust, and it's to be trustworthy. So here's the final question of the evening. When trust is fragile and needs to be rebuilt from scratch, what would we have to do differently when we start that we could use starting at our next meeting? What could we do to increase and build trust as a board or a high-performing team the next time we get together? So write that down, and I'll let you have a process to discuss. I'm not going to make you report out, but I'm going to let you share with your shoulder mate. Once you've written your thoughts down, share them with your table mate. Yeah. You don't want to failure. we have a classic, we have a failure to communicate. And I can eat 100 eggs, was it 100 eggs? 50, oh, that was bad. Okay, let's come back together as a big group. I will give you one opportunity to share a thought if you want, and then I'll say thank you so you can get back to your regularly scheduled programming, right? Anybody have an idea they want to share? Something we could do? Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll go ahead and share. I think that if there were some sort of a triggering event, something that occurred that really kind of derailed trust and relationships among the board, when we have the opportunity to come back together again for that very next session, I think the first thing to do is to acknowledge the hurt that has occurred, the breakdown. Let that be something that's open and transparent, and then say, I want to own my piece of contributing to where things are now. And with that in mind, I'm asking for everybody to stand with me and let's work through this together. Let's figure out a solution that's going to rebuild trust, restore the relationships, really kind of get ourselves back into the mode of working for the best of our students, and use that as an opportunity to kind of repurpose and refocus what we do.
Outstanding. That is outstanding. Well, thanks for letting me spend an evening with you. Next time I probably won't wander around. Well, next time I'm here, I may never be back. We can get somebody better than that. But next time, have a great meeting until then. Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that training, speaking of next time, the Kansas School Board Association will touch on board self-evaluations and evaluation process and build on what was talked about tonight. So, January is normally a lighter time in terms of the things that we have in that January meeting. So we will plan accordingly. We would like to push the CAP presentation back to the next meeting so that we can continue to move forward in the agenda this evening. Also, there's one member that's not here right now or online. So we'd like to make sure we share last year's CAP scores this year and the MAP growth. Remember, those came out delayed this year for the new assessment. So we'll be sharing that next time. That does conclude our remarks, and we appreciate Dr. Meckel so much.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. So we have the addition of the two discussion items. The first one, 21.1, to discuss policy 2350. And just to see if there's comments, if the board has comments around that policy, that is I'll read the name. The policy is the cooperation with law enforcement agencies in the Shawnee County Juvenile Court. And if we look back to our board meeting on the 18th, there was concerns raised around that policy. And so if anybody has further questions, I know that Chief Cochran is still here to answer questions or concerns or has any statements around that. Mrs. Schmidt requests your presence.
I request your expertise. I just know as a policy committee, I think we've discussed that this is one of our up and coming policies. This one around the cooperation with law enforcement agencies and the Shawnee County Juvenile Court. And so I just wondered if you've had a chance to review it and, you know, give us your take on how it stands and.
I've reviewed some policies with Ms. Whiteman. I think these are the ones they're talking about. Yeah, so, yeah, I think I have a grasp. That would be helpful.
I don't know, Mr. Schmidt, did you have specifics that you wanted to call out from that?
No, I mean, I just think we want to make sure there were some questions as to whether our policy was covered everything accurately. And so that's kind of where your expertise, especially law enforcement in heading up our law enforcement within or public safety within the school, while your perspective, it's just some questions that have been posed by the public. And so we wanted to have this conversation in the public to let them know the board as a whole was reviewing that.
Yeah, from what I can tell, and for me, the learning curve is taking law enforcement in the public sector and mingling that with school law enforcement and school policies. From what I can tell in reviewing those and working with Ms. Whiteman, I think we're very solid on these policies. I think they're very sound, and I think we're good to go.
Other questions or thoughts? Ms. Boley?
So when a school is approached with a warrant, we must comply with that warrant, correct? Even though we have students behind our wall?
Yeah, when you have a court order like that issued by a judge, that becomes that's the playing card that you got. And so when there's a warrant like that and it's served, how we can control, you know, where we come into play is if working with the local authorities, how can we make that least impactful as possible to the daily operations and the school functions that's going on. And so when a warrant, you know, they show up with a warrant, the hopes are that there's cooperation between the agencies and the district and that you minimize any impact to the student body and the daily operations of the school at that time.
Ms. Whiteman, would you like to add to that in regards to the law and policy when there is a warrant? I believe Chief Cochran explained that very well. Any addition you'd like to make in that regard?
Other than the fact that the chief is correct, when there is a warrant, schools must comply. And the fact that the school works to make it as comfortable and convenient for the students as possible. They separate them into different rooms. There's usually an administrator in with the student. And in the situation that the board has received concerns about, it's important to note that there was no interrogation. It was simply a warrant to have the students give their cell phones. And then the student was given a notice to take to the parents, which basically said, please contact the police department. We'd like to visit with you and your student. So that was given to the student to give to the parents. And the parents were contacted about that. And all but one parent was contacted, and that parent was contacted, and there's a record of a call being made to the parent with a message to have that parent call the principal back. but in my review of the situation and facts, the policy was complied with, and the district does not have any options. We cannot refuse to cooperate when a court-ordered warrant is issued. But my discussions with Mr. Dick is that this is only the second time in his 20-year career that warrants have been served at the school.
Thank you. Ms. Schmidt.
I have one more question for you, Chief. After an event like this, does your office do like an after-action report or a retrospective to just look back at the incident, to check all the boxes, make sure we've followed our policy? It sounds like in this instance we have, and then potentially identify any changes that we might need to make in policy or clarifications or?
So as the police department for the public school system, we do not do a review or an audit of that. Those procedures are administrative procedures, shall we say. And if they have questions or consultation, we are, Principal Dick did contact me and have conversation. Hey, is this the way this should have been done or whatever? We had some concerns over that. We do talk about those things. And then I did contact the police department and have some conversation with them and some of the detectives as to why this route was taken. And they gave an explanation of that. But we don't, as the police department, do a review of the policy and what the administration did on an administrative policy.
Thank you. Anything else for? Okay, and we'll move on to 21.2, which is the FUSIS. And I don't know, Ms. Schmidt, if you wanted to speak to that, and Chief Cochran, you can stay up there if you want.
Stay right up there. So the FUSIS, for those that don't know, actually Chief can probably give a better explanation of what FUSIS is. It's a surveillance system that our law enforcement, both the Sheriff's Department and the Topeka Police Department utilize, correct?
Yeah, so the FUSIS Center is a virtual crime center in which activities can be monitored throughout the city, and individuals or businesses or entities can register their cameras with the FUSIS Center, and if an event happens or whatever, then those can be brought up. And then, of course, there's always restrictions or confinements of how and when those cameras can be utilized and in what situation they're utilized.
And so I bring this up. I was, of course, the one that has been bringing up the opportunity for us to join forces with the FUSIS surveillance system that they have. Out of the 5 Shawnee County schools, we are the one school that is not partnering with them right now. So I thought it was an opportunity that we had, because we do, in the event that something horrible should happen, it is an opportunity for us to give law enforcement, who we are expecting to run into the face of danger, to keep our students and our staff safe, to give them some better line of sight as to what might be going on in the school, say if there were an active shooter or anything like that. There are some schools I know that have given completely open access. That is one side of the pendulum. And then there are others, the other option is requiring contacts and permissions in order for that to happen. In order for them to have, I think right now, the discussion kind of is that as a district, we're definitely allowing access to the outside cameras so that if things are going on, that law enforcement could see those things. And the up for a little bit of debate is what the other end of that looks like. So for our cameras inside the schools, I don't think necessarily 100% open access is the way. I don't necessarily know that I feel comfortable with having people to have to make a phone call in order for something to go on. Extreme situations, if all 3 people were, doing what they were doing, but if we had contacts identified and none of those people were available, how that might anticipate or change that event. I don't know if you can speak to the other schools, if you have any knowledge into that. I don't know if you have a professional opinion as to what good middle ground is, or if you can just give us some background on that as we work on making a decision on how to move forward.
Yeah, so across the board, it runs the gamut. Like you said, there is a school district that gives them unfeathered access. They can bring up a camera at any given time. And when we say that, it's whatever camera they have, is tied into the system. So take like Topeka High, we have several hundred cameras there. It wouldn't be they'd have access to all 100 cameras. What we have done is we've gone through and we have identified strategically located cameras that if somebody was to get in the building or we have something going on, that those cameras would be the ones that would be activated. And so school district has unfeathered access, and then there's other school districts that only comes online when it's triggered by a 911 call or they're granted permission to do so. And we have always operated under the premise of, when working on this, modeling that to where inside there has to be access granted. And then the question becomes at what level. And so when we say they can only be accessed with permission, part of that, you can sign an agreement that says the permission is if there's a 911 call from within the building, that automatically sends a trigger to the Fusa Center, then they can come online and look at that. So the question becomes, if it's a medical call, do they necessarily need access to that? Again, that's comfort level wherever we're at. The thing to keep in mind is that the three individuals that, we've kind of identified, that's just another added checks and balances, shall we say, that make sure that everything's complied with. The thing to keep in mind is that if there's an event that goes on in the school, nothing prevents any one of our administrators or police officers to contact the Fusa Center and have them come online. So when we're talking about an event, waiting to get permission, say there's an event, happens outside, it moves inside the school, and it's not a 911 call, the Fusa Center, they have to call and get approval from one of three people. The thing to keep in mind is that we're going to be aware of that situation already, and we're going to be monitoring that situation already. And so the delay, if you talk about a delay, may be additional resources responding as opposed to immediate response, because immediate response is going to be there. We're going to have that. And the other thing to keep in mind is if there's a 911 call that comes in and it's an event, the resources are going to be sent by the dispatch center. They're going to be sending those resources anyway. And then as details come in, what level or whatever is needed. So when we talk about one of three people being notified, those instances are going to be rare and few and far between. And when they do happen, there's other things that are already in play that are already making sure things are happening, shall we say. The resources are going to be sent. Our officers are going to be monitored. The best thing about our camera system is this. If there's an event at Topeka High inside the building, and all three of our officers will respond to that, we have the ability that we can contact Topeka, Topeka West, Highland Park, Avondale, anywhere. One of our officers is going to be monitoring the cameras from a remote location. And so it's not like we're not going to have anybody watching those cameras. And so the system, it's a fail-safe system. There's always a mechanism, there's always something there that's going to not prevent things from happening, shall I say. And so when we talk about that contact of three people, it's going to be an extreme incident. And like I said, the prime example is something happens like at 10th and Topeka. An armed individual moves west, somehow gets into Topeka High. We're already going to be aware of that situation, and we're already going to be monitoring the cameras. And so calling for additional response, I'm trying to really think of a situation where one of these three people are actually going to have to be called, because the dispatch center right now automatically contacts us in events. We have a great partnership with the Sheriff's Office and the dispatch center. And so I feel very confident where we're at with this memo of understanding agreement. And it's really kind of comfort level that you guys desire. How, how comfortable do you feel? But I'm very confident in what was put together and presented to the sheriff's office. I think is a very positive step. We're in good shape. And it's also one of those things, if 6 months, a year down the road, we want to change it, that's not a big deal. We can change that. To me, I'm really comfortable, if it's a 911 triggering. But again, with that being said, anybody within the school can call the Fuchsia Center, dispatch and say, hey, bring the Fuchsia Center online. And I'm very confident that that would happen.
Other questions or? So just to kind of put a bow on that, as far as the safety of our students, you feel comfortable with the way that it's written, that double check wouldn't affect safety of our students, safety of the staff responding?
Yeah, my personal opinion at this point, I don't think we're jeopardizing the safety
Yeah.
of any of our staff or students. Do we want that step or not? That's really all it is. And the events that would trigger that type of a situation would basically call upon and I can't imagine this ever happened, that nobody is watching our cameras and nobody is aware of what's going on. It would be that event where totally by surprise, somebody gets into a building and we have no clue, and the Fuchsia Center or the sheriff's office or police department is aware that, hey, this guy got into the building. Are you aware of that? No. And I just can't, I can't fathom that would ever happen. to be honest with you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Oh, Ms. Boley.
I would just like to make it clear to the public, we don't have cameras in our classrooms.
Yeah.
This is outside cameras, parking lot cameras, and the ability to look at hallway cameras if and only if necessary.
Yeah.
Right. The Fuchsia Center, like I said, we've identified cameras, and those cameras that are identified are your major hallways, major gathering areas like commons, media center, gymnasiums. So if an event happens, the Fuchsia Center and other responders, and like I said, we'll be monitoring it. And if the Fuchsia Center comes online, what that allows the Fuchsia Center to do is, as additional resources are being sent, they can help direct them to the right location.
Yeah.
So it enhances the safety of everybody involved by giving eyes to those individuals that aren't on ground yet.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Chief. And I think that wraps up our two discussions. So we'll move to board member comments and start with Dr. Bonebrake.
My committees meet next week, so I don't have anything to add other than I was depressed out of my mind and Ms. Menningers were here when I had a 2-hour discussion with a counselor at Topeka High, but that's neither here nor there.
Thank you, Dr. Bonebrake. Mrs. Boley.
I had no committee meetings, but I did want to just report to our board. I attended the student advisory committee to our superintendent. Did I say the title correctly?
Yes, ma'am. Superintendent.
And
Supervisor.
I was able to attend 2 of those at Topeka High and Highland Park High School. And the loudest complaint I heard were our restrooms, which I'm glad because that's something we can definitely do something about, is our restrooms. And so our students had some concerns around the restrooms. They shared them with our superintendent. And when you think of all the concerns that they could have, I just thought that was pretty wonderful because we can address that and help our students through that situation. I would like to bring up something since it's the new year. I would really like to bring up the consideration by this board to move to a lot less technology in pre-K through 2. And I don't know if there's interest in the board. I see 1 or 2 heads nodding, but I would really like to start looking towards that and getting our kids off tech as much as possible in the lower grades for the day, that we would have control over that piece and help parents kind of move through that with technology with their students too. So I'd like to put that challenge out to the board for this new coming year. I also wanted to ask our leadership team, I've been watching the State Board of Education, and they are trying to organize some type of plan around AI. And I was just wondering if our district is trying to create some type of plan around AI and how it's going to look in our school buildings. Because I feel like it's coming at us like a bulldozer. It's coming at us so quickly, and we're trying to teach our teachers how to use it. I think there are probably some good things about it, but how I would like our district to take that challenge on about what is that really going to look like for us? And I think probably we have to step that up a lot faster than we want to. And it sounds like the state board is trying to come up with something also, so maybe that could give us some guidance. And I will pass it on. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tatum.
I think I've only got one, actually, maybe 2 things. I'll start with the fact that I did have a committee meeting yesterday. The Topeka Public Schools Foundation. I represent the board on the investment committee, and I've, of course, reported out on it before. Some notable things, noteworthy things happened in the meeting yesterday that I wanted to be sure to update everybody on. First of all, for the past 4 years or so, Mark Carr has been the chair of the investment committee, but he has rotated off, and so now the board chair will be or is Jared McRae. So that's a change I wanted you to be aware of. As far as our investments are concerned, it looks like 2026 is looking better for the return on our investments than 2025 was. Even so, there are a few concerns relating to customer spending and inflation and the impact that could potentially have on our investment portfolio. And then AI or artificial intelligence is really kind of considered to be a wild card right now. We're not sure, no one's sure exactly what impact that's going to have on the markets. But it is also noteworthy that an investment account, the TPS Foundation essentially identified a number of smaller individualized accounts that just didn't seem to be connected to anything without any clear purpose as to why they were there. So the TPS Foundation decided that they would take those disparate accounts and consolidate them in a way that will help gain more interest for the monies in that account, and they've done it at Core First, and because of that, they're feeling pretty good about what we could see yield from that particular account. But we usually hear from Clayton Strategies. They kind of monitor our investments. Many of them, like for example, with Hummer Park and things like that. So we hear from them on a pretty regular basis about how things are going with our investments. But because of this new investment account with Core First will also be coming on a regular basis to the investment committee meeting and sharing how that particular account is doing as well. So that's good news. That's definitely good news. So that is the gist of that meeting. The only other thing I would say is thank you to those who contributed the cards. I, as everyone knows, I love getting these. I will pour through them. I'll probably shed a few tears. I usually do, as I'm just so overwhelmed with the work that kids have done to say happy holidays and we appreciate you and all sorts of things that they say when they put these cards together for us. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Mr. Munoz.
I don't have a lot, but our next board meeting is going to, for policy committee is on January 26th at 4 p.m. I'll be here in this building. In December, I did hear back from some students, I think it had to do with class, who sort of reached out to me and shared their issues. And I think it echoed some of what Ms. Bowley referenced, which in terms of restrooms at our high schools. And so frustrations with access to that when it's needed. And I checked in with my daughter and yeah, it's, she also sort of shared the same thing. So so that's an issue. And I know that our administration is working on trying to make that as accessible as possible. And also, I imagine dealing with, issues that pop up. So hopefully that can be, taken, addressed. Also, mental health was another thing that a student shared with their worry about the state of students and their emotional toll that they seem to be working through. So, and last thing I'll say is that I'm looking forward to our mid-year high school graduation. It's going to be on January 26th. It's hard to, Ms. Schmidt mentioned, it's hard to believe we're halfway through, but it is. And so that's where we are. And I know many of us will be there and look forward to congratulating these students.
Thank you. Ms. Schmidt.
I definitely echo Ms. Bowley's thoughts on trying to just evaluate technology for those younger kids. I did have a conversation with a parent, and he and his wife had talked to their children and said, not necessarily eliminating, but taking it out where we can. I'm not sure if other people received an email about, creating a pilot school. I mean, so there's lots of different ideas we could throw around to see what that might look like. And I too want to thank everyone for the cards, especially this little one with the decoupaged on the front with everybody's pictures on it. That was a pretty cute idea. So other than that, we haven't had any committee meetings. We've all been off enjoying the holidays, but it's good to be back to work.
I was at DCAC this week, so I was able to go to DCAC on Tuesday. Mr. Willer from the foundation gave the community presentation, so he was able to talk about some of their grants and maybe looking at from a one grant cycle to 2 grant cycles to be able to offer some different types of grants. They're also looking at helping fund summer programs or some summer programs to provide more opportunities for students. And then he mentioned 2 other projects. So there's a foundation partner database, not only the partners that donate and support the foundation, but also as a database where there would be a repository of information for internships. And his goal is to develop 100 internships, 100 spots in that database for students. He also talked about the Navigator program and developing a way that can help streamline the process of obtaining an ID or a driver's license for our students, knowing with his work in social work, the doors that unlocks for our students, and he knows a lot of the hoops that they need to jump through, so being able to offer that for all of our students. So some really exciting stuff from the foundation. And then I got a little bit of insight into the draft report for the study for DCAC this year around engagement and parental engagement. And so that was great. And then I just have, we will have a meeting on the 22nd before Mr. Munoz's stuff. So we'll be able to remind for mid-year graduation. But before the 22nd, we do have Living the Dream Hopefully we'll get to see Natalia again, since she's one of the scholarship recipients. So I hope to see people at the Living the Dream on the 17th. And then one of the things that, when meeting with Dr. Meckel yesterday with Dr. Anderson and Mrs. Whiteman came up, and then in the 2-on-1 with Mrs. Schmidt, completely separately, but that same thread is just looking at, you know, this education will be really good right now, and then in 6 months we'll be busy and it just kind of goes away. And so how do we make that continuous improvement and continuing education? And so we talked about maybe just setting some times for retreats where we can do some of this boardsmanship work, but also have a space where we can communicate a little bit more, feel a little bit more open, and be a little bit more present. And still in a public space, but maybe not in this space. So that's something I'm just throwing out there for the board to think about early on in the year. Oh, and Mrs. Boley, Mrs. Wallace copied Mrs. Schmidt and I on an email that she sent to one of our teachers today around AI and the use of technology in the classroom. And so the board is developing an AI policy currently, and they are also, as we are looking at student device replacement, especially at the elementary level, actively discussing screen time, its impact, how devices are used, and so other options, 2-to-1 models, share workstations, and devices designated for testing are being explored. So some of that work is ongoing, and we'll continue to go, and hopefully we can hear more about that as time goes on. So just to follow up your comment. And that's all I have. So I just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second. Mrs. Boley, thank you. And all of us in favor, raise your hand. Thank you.
You needed to raise your hand.
I'm